What's going on, A Plus? It's your boy Indy Uchiha. I know it's a surprise. But Adam's over at Dallas Fan Fest making you guys some incredible content, getting some amazing footage and stuff from there. So it's just me and Stu today, but we're gonna get it in. Got lots to cover, especially when it comes to Marvel and DC. I'm just ready to get in tune with you guys. So what do you think? Let's go. Man, Stuart. I'm just pressing too many buttons at one time, man. It's been so long. It's been so long. You might be muted.
Sorry, I was making a joke of, it's like we got excited. We're like, oh, wait, we're doing Hero Report? No, more phenomenal. No, wait, Hero Report,
no,
yes.
No, we're like, oh, the boss isn't here. The boss isn't here. Just ready to go in at it, man. What's been up?
Oh, man, not much. Just another pretty chilled week at work. The movie, oh, God, what movies did we get? We got the movie Bring Her Back, which is by the same director that did Talk to Me. From what I've seen of the movie, looks very creepy, very disturbing. It seems like audiences are really liking it.
That's what I heard. They said it's really darker. You know what I'm saying? Other than their last movie. Even the most adamant horror fans saying there's a lot of stuff that made them cringe or turn their eyes away from the screen and stuff going on. So I'm really excited to see that and see what happens with that.
Definitely. It almost like looks like I could be wrong, but like just from the scenes I walked in on, it's like almost like there's no supernatural aspect to the horror. The horror is they're in an abusive like foster family, and it's just like, yeah, that's a pretty horrifying thought.
Yeah. I'm looking. I don't know. I'm real into horror movies, like real horror movies. Mm-hmm. Things like Evil Dead and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying? Some of my favorite. 13. Love 13 Ghosts. You know what I'm saying? Different movies like that. Annabelle series is one of my favorites. So I feel like this will be right up my alley when it comes to that.
Yeah, definitely.
All right.
Your week, man.
I had an awesome week. Moving again and doing that. So like the room's bare. Probably a lot of echo going on right now. Moving into a house out of an apartment. So I'm happy about that. Did a show, the Cloud Surfing show, performance, Al Coleon, G. Scott, some incredible Midwestern artists there. That went pretty good. Just getting back into the swing and getting everything ready. And I've been preparing a lot of anime reviews, you know what I'm saying, to hit the page. So that's going to be interesting when those go up and see how people, react to those, some To Be Hero X and different stuff like that.
Nice. Is Dragon Ball Daima going to be one of them?
I don't want it to be, but I think it has to be.
Wait, were you not a fan?
At all. I personally, I'm one of those who I'm more adamant of Super than I am Daima, and I really just wish they stopped playing with my emotions and give me Super.
Back Super, yes, I definitely, I agree there, but I like Daima for what it was. But yeah, I definitely, because the manga was still going for a while, and they had some really cool arcs that they were introducing. So I kind of wish those got anime adaptations.
Yeah, definitely. I'm waiting for the moral arc. I want to see the moral arc bad. So, and I'm hoping they decide to develop some type of tournament of power too or something. So let's just get that going, guys.
Yeah.
Who do we got in the comments? Of course, you got Enrique. Enrique's always here. Had a message for Adam. He said, "Hey Adam, I just saw the official trailer for Pixar's upcoming new movie, Ilio, and it will be arriving in theaters June 20th. I've actually seen the trailers for that, and I'm pretty intrigued. They caught me with this is the lava tunnels. I'm not fireproof. Get in my mouth like that. That sold me on it because I felt like that could have been an adult, and you know what I'm saying, like a kid joke with an adult vibe to it. Mm-hmm. So that definitely got me. The whole concept being abducted by aliens and everything like that. I feel like it'd be a pretty interesting movie to watch.
Yeah, definitely. I love sci-fi in general, and this one, yeah, it looks like it's just going to be kind of fun. I love it because like one of the things that you'll always see in like kind of the Orville and Star Trek is like people who are like kind of on this on a planet that isn't quite Federation level yet, but they're the ones who know that there's this like big Federation out there, so they like put that signal in of like, get me off my planet. My planet sucks. I want to be part of this huge galactic Federation. And that seems to be what this kid is doing, kind of. And so I'm wondering if he does this because he is also a Star Trek fan.
Possibly, very possibly. So, hey, I didn't think about that. That's something interesting to think about when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could dig that. I could dig that. We got Kiki and Luca. Congratulations on your new house. Thank you. I appreciate it. Hard work. Hard work pays off, guys. 42 years old, finally getting another house. Um, and I'm a big Pixar fan, but Ilio doesn't look great to me. I think it
Ah.
could be that's interesting. I think it could be hit and miss. Um, Pixar to me has had a couple of misses, but they
Mhm.
normally hit it out the park. It's normally something that they attach with you emotionally to make you be like, hey, check it out. Marcelino's in the building, says hi, guys. We appreciate everybody that tuned in to the non-Adam Hero Report. We'll try to do just as good job as he does. I'm out of practice. That's all you got to know.
I think you're doing amazing so far.
Appreciate it, except for my camera's in the way of everything. Uh, do we have some honorable mentions, sir?
Yes, I actually got a couple of honorable mentions I'm excited to talk about. Let me bring up the photos. I'll get the short one out of the way first. King of the Hill. I brought this up last time I was on. The revival is coming back. Last time I had an image to show, what the new characters are going to be, or, what the characters are going to be looking like with their new designs. Here we get a full, like, recruit, like the intro of what it's going to be for the new series, what the new intro looks like. And it shows basically a giant time lapse of everything that happened from when the series ended to where it's picking up now. So it turns out Peggy and Hank actually left Texas to go to, I believe, Saudi Arabia to work in a like in like kind of a propane type of I can't remember exactly, but it's apparently a real thing where they have like kind of this propane thing set up, or factory kind of set up for like Americans to work at temporarily for a couple of years to work up to earn like a lot of money and then come back to be able to retire early. And so that's what Hank and Peggy did. We also get Bobby as an adult, and he's apparently going to be a chef working in Dallas. And yeah, just everything we see in the intro, just it said so much. And I love King of the Hill, so I'm really excited to see how this revival goes. It seems like the premise is Hank comes back to Arlen, Texas, and it's not the same Arlen that he remembers. So the big question is it Arlen that changed? Is it Hank that changed, or a little bit of both? We'll have to wait and find out. The other honorable mention I have goes to the show that I don't know if I've talked about on this series yet, but it's like one of the most incredible shows like to ever exist. It is called The Rehearsal, kind of a low-key sequel to the series Nathan for You. This one in The Rehearsal, it's about like giving people opportunities to rehearse something they really want to say. At least that's how it starts out, but then it completely changes its premise by the end of the season. And so Rehearsal season 2 takes a completely different turn from season 1, as it's about basically Nathan Fielder trying to convince the FAA that like lack of communication in the cockpit is a huge issue that leads to plane crashes, and it's like one of the biggest problems when it comes to aviation safety. And so he basically uses, like, this is one of the most expensive shows I've ever seen. I highly recommend watching The Rehearsal. You don't even need to see season 1 to watch season 2, because like some of the stuff that he brings up, it's very informative. But he talks about like how lack of communication could be an issue, and the reason there is this lack of communication could be due to power dynamics, could be due to if a pilot is given any signs that of mental health issues, like if he needs therapy or something like that, he can lose his job. So Nathan basically uses his show and uses this HBO money to really expose all these issues. And the reason I bring this up is because he was recently on CNN talking about his show, and apparently the FAA did, they claim to have watched it, and their response is, there is no evidence to suggest that lack of communication is an issue. To which I think Nathan had just the funniest response, where he just straight up goes, they're dumb. And yeah, so anyways, all that to be said, if you guys have not seen The Rehearsal Season 2, I highly recommend it. Watch it. It's 6 episodes, and it is the funniest, it is one of the funniest things on television you will ever see.
That piqued my interest. That piqued my interest. That's probably something I'm gonna check out. I was a fan of that news show. I don't remember what it's called. Man, I don't remember what channel it was on, but it was dope. I'm fans of stuff like that, so it'll be interesting to check out when it comes to that. Like,
yes.
for real. It's crazy. Man,
we also got Blossom joining us.
Oh, what's up, Blossom? The intro they made for it is great. Intro for what?
Oh, for King of the Hill? I assume you're talking about for the King of the Hill revival.
Oh, okay, yeah. I was behind.
Oh, yeah, here we go. Yeah, I think so. To get in touch with and see how much the gang has changed and grown up. Yes, definitely agree.
That's super dope. Yeah, I mean, it's all good when it comes to that. King of the Hill was one of my favorite shows. I think I was more of a Futurama person. You know what I'm saying, when it came to that. But that whole block, Simpsons, you know what I'm saying, King of the Hill, Futurama, that was my type of animated comedy. And we have stuff like that now with Bob's Burgers, you know what I'm saying, different stuff like that to keep on the tray. But it's nothing like the classics when it comes to something like that. You can't beat a classic. So, guys, we have, I believe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 topics. 6 topics as usual. All dealing with Marvel and DC except for one. So you guys ready to get into that?
Always. Wait, you don't have any honorable mentions?
No, I have none. I do. No, let me take that back. I do have an honorable mention. It's been 25 years. This has nothing to do with nerd and geek pop culture, but I got to get this off my chest. It's been 25 long years, I think, since the year 2000. And the Indiana Pacers are now back in the Indiana Finals. The NBA Finals. I told you, I tried to yell it from the mountaintop the other day. You know what I'm saying? Pacers in 6, dusted off the New York Knicks. Now it's time for us to do the same thing to OKC. I'm ecstatic about that. 10 minutes of my set last night was me just talking about the Indiana Pacers before I started performing. I think I got on everybody's nerves. I even put on my championship fantasy football ring. It has nothing to do with basketball, but I just wanted to feel like a champion because the Pacers are the Eastern Conference champion. So, hey, that's my honorable mention. Go Pacers.
Another 25 years, and I'm sure they'll be back in the NBA again.
Let's hope it doesn't take that long. Let's really hope it doesn't take that long. All right, let's go ahead and get into the first topic. It's been a lot of news going around Spider-Man New Day. We've been trying to figure out what was going on with it, what was going to be the basis of it, how everything was going to happen. And we got a little report, an exclusive, that Mark Ruffalo was on set to return as Bruce Banner in Spider-Man Brand New Day. This comes to us from New Point Nexus News, and they can exclusively report that Mark Ruffalo was on set to reprise his role as Bruce Banner in the Spider-Man Brand New Day. It is currently unknown what role Banner will play in the story or whether he'll also be portraying his alternate green persona. NPN can confirm Bruce Banner's appearance will be much larger than a cameo, and Ruffalo will have a substantial role in the film. Spider-Man Brand New Day will be Ruffalo's 10th appearance in the mainline Marvel Cinematic Universe project, which will be followed shortly by Avengers Doomsday and Avengers Secret Wars, respectively. Now, we know the last time that we saw Mark Ruffalo in anything that had to do with Disney was, I believe, in She-Hulk, if I'm correct. So it's going to be, I'm curious to see where he stands after this, if they retcon the whole thing with him bringing his son, you know what I'm saying, at the end of She-Hulk. And if we get rid of that Professor Hulk form that nobody seems to be happy about. You know what I'm saying? With the Hulk being created by Stan Lee in 1962, and he first debuted in Incredible Hulk 1962 number one. Bruce Banner was a reserve scientist experimenting with gamma rays until an experiment left him exposed to rays while trying to save Rick Jones from exposure. Ended up transforming him into a green hulking monster that gets stronger the angrier he gets. Interesting to me the way they decide to do this. Now, the rumors that I've heard about this is that this is a Spider-Man versus Hulk film, which to me is crazy, especially where we left the Hulk at. I have no idea how we get from, you know what I'm saying, I found my son on this planet and I'm bringing him back to Earth to now beat the hell out of Spider-Man. Now, it could have something to do with, you know what I'm saying, the Hulk, because of what happened with Doctor Strange's spell and nobody remembering Spider-Man, that the Hulk no longer remembers who he is. But I'm of a different ilk when it comes to that. Like, the spell was cast for everybody on the planet, right?
Mm.
Isn't like to me, I'm weird with this. Like, Banner and Hulk are two different people. To me, they got two different minds. So if one was in charge and the other wasn't, did both of them lose their memories?
Ooh. I would assume the Hulk wouldn't, but also the Hulk. Does the Hulk know that Peter Parker is Spider-Man though? Because the Hulk is usually not around for like the important stuff, only the fights.
I mean, it's true, but is the Hulk privy to everything that Banner knows? Is Banner privy to everything the Hulk knows?
That
Like,
I'm pretty sure not, because I think they show like in the Incredible Hulk, like he has flashes of memories as the Hulk, but for the most part, until the events of Endgame, they're basically two separate minds.
yeah, that would make sense. That would make sense. But what do you think about Mark Ruffalo coming back for his? I don't know how long his contract is. I think he signed on for Doomsday and Secret Wars at least. I do believe that he re-upped a new contract. But 10th, it doesn't even seem like he's been here that long. That this is his 10th project. Because I remember him coming around the event. This probably is 10 projects. Wow. Like, is Hulk the longest reoccurring character in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? What do you think about him coming back, especially in this movie? Because it feels like we wanted a grounded Spider-Man movie, like for him to have his first grounded like thing, and it feels like they're throwing us back into this multiverse thing by bringing Hulk back in so early.
Yeah, I like the idea of Bruce Banner being in it. I don't think we need necessarily like the Hulk, and especially I don't think we really need a Spider-Man versus Hulk like in the movie. If we get it, I hope it's not like the main focus of the film, because like, you know, as cool as it would be to see them fight, I don't want to see like a whole movie revolved around it. The only kind of like interesting direction I could see them taking it in, if that is the direction they want to go, is maybe they could do something with that like piece of symbiote that like Venom left behind in the MCU before getting teleported back into the Sony universe. So maybe that like Venom piece like clutches onto the Hulk or Bruce Banner, and we get like some really cool looking like Venom Hulk. I could see them doing something with that. But if they're not going to do anything creative, I really hope they don't just like center the whole movie around Spider-Man versus Hulk, because to me that's just it's a boring idea for a movie. It's a cool idea for like a one-off scene in this movie.
Venom Hulk. How the hell does Peter Parker beat a Venom Hulk?
I guess you got to first get rid of the two. So I guess like you'd have to do like what he does in Spider-Man 3 and use like kind of the sound waves.
Marcelino says, I just realized that Peter and Banner never officially met each other on screen. So now we finally get to see their interaction. Oh, he's right.
Correct. Yeah.
He's right. They never met each other on screen. That's nuts. Huh.
Especially because I feel like it's been mentioned that like Peter's like a fan of Bruce's work. So yeah, I feel like they would have some interesting chemistry.
Yeah, a lot of people do want the Hulk recast after Secret Wars, which I think he will be. I don't see how long Mark Ruffalo can actually do this. Mm-hmm. I did read in an article today that has nothing to do with this, and maybe this should have been an honorable mention, that it was in a Spider-Man Wolverine comic that's running right now, that it was actually Wolverine that killed Peter Parker's parents.
Oh, what?
Yeah,
wait,
he won.
Recent one?
Yeah, when he was being mind controlled by the Red Skull, he killed Peter Parker's parents.
Ooh, Okay. Does it lead to like Peter and him like duking it out or anything like
I
that?
haven't made it that far yet. I haven't made it that far yet, but
See, that's actually a comic I don't know if I'd want to see in a movie form, but that's a comic I'd be into in Spider-Man versus Wolverine. Like that sounds hella cool.
the reality, and see, this is my thing, yo. Like the reality of how strong Peter actually is, if he lets himself, you know what I'm saying, go.
Mhm.
Wolverine can't beat Peter Parker.
Oh no, undoubtedly Spider-Man is stronger than Wolverine, but he does have like the healing and adamantium factors. So I don't think
Mhm.
I actually don't know. Spider-Man's not. No, I don't think Spider-Man's strong enough to break adamantium, but he can still break Wolverine's skin for sure.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder if he could do something like swing him and break his neck. You know what
Yeah,
I'm saying? Or something like that, like with force. That Peter's smart enough to figure it out. Definitely. Thanks for checking in, Kelsey. I see your mind blown. You must have heard about that Wolverine fact. Welcome to the Nerdum. Appreciate you being here. I mean, I don't know what's really going to happen when it comes to that, but I'm interested in how they're going to incorporate uh the whole Bruce Banner or Hulk into what they're trying to do with a more grounded, you know what I'm saying, Spider-Man, or if anything that's happening in like Daredevil or anything like that is going to affect, you know what I'm saying, Spider-Man Brand New Day. It'd be real
yeah.
interesting to me with that.
That is actually like the main thing is like with Daredevil Born Again. You know, either season 2 storyline has to wrap up before Spider-Man, or they got to kind of address it in some way because New York City is literally like basically a dictatorship now at this point. It's like, yeah, it was funny when they didn't mention in Thunderbolts, but I was just going on the assumption of Thunderbolts definitely takes place before Daredevil. There's no way it takes place afterwards. So I am curious if they're going to address anything that's happened from the events of Daredevil in Spider-Man, or if it's just going to be kind of like, we'll just pretend, all that stuff from Daredevil already happened and we're moving on past that.
Yeah, yeah, I'm definitely feeling that. Let's get this last comment from Marcelino, then move on to the next topic. He says, many people still want to see Uncle Ben in the MCU. To them, they will never get tired of the classic Spider-Man origin story. They don't have to be tired of it. I'm tired of it. It's only so many times I can see Uncle Ben die. I'm cool. I'm cool with it. I know Peter lost his Uncle Ben. I know that's the reason he did. With great power comes great responsibility. Um, I love how they had the whole him losing Aunt May, like something other than Uncle Ben. Uncle Ben was already gone. We had to go through and watch him lose Aunt May. So I was a little bit more into that because it was something different. But other than that, I'm cool for rehashing or like don't give me origin stories. Like if I see another Batman origin story, another Superman I'm cool. We know he escaped the planet. We know their parents died. We know all of this. Just get me to the story of who they are now rather than who they were. We can go through that through flashbacks or something when they're trying to man up to do what they need to do as a hero and they're having a flashback of what Uncle Ben said or something like that. Redo it like that. I don't need the whole story rehashed.
So I recently started reading All-Star Superman because, like, James Gunn was saying it's going to be a huge influence on the Superman movie. And they touch upon Superman's origins in the very first page. And it's just so funny how it's like they use it as little words as possible, where it's just like, planet explode, ends up on Earth, raised by family, Superman. It's like, if we go over origin stories, that's how they should start doing it. If it's a very familiar origin story. So, Peter, raised by aunt and uncle, gets reckless with superpowers. Uncle dies. Spider-Man.
That's the way it should be done on screen too. I'm just saying, do it on screen just like that, and we'll be all right. That's all you got to do. I can't. I'm cool with the whole rehashing of everything that's going on.
Yeah, so next Spider-Man reboot. That's how they got to tackle the origin.
Tackle it just like that. That's the only thing you got to do. That's the only thing you got to do. Wow. Well, that wraps up that Mark Ruffalo Spider-Man. Let's see what happens. Let's see. It's sneeze came. Let's see how that happens. Way too much marijuana last night.
Oh, I'm jealous.
It was just in the air. I didn't partake. It was just in the air.
Okay.
Next up, let's go Marvel again. We got a first look from the animated anthology series Eyes of Wakanda. Don't know how much of this you guys are actually gonna be able to see. Sorry about that. But very interesting dialogue when it comes to create a sense of a giant spy espionage story that reverberates through time. The fact that it's a spy espionage story is interesting to me. I wasn't expecting that. Like when we think about Wakanda, we think about Black Panther. You know what I'm saying? First off, but like a spy espionage, like when I think of that, I think of like James Bond maybe or something like that. But before Avengers Endgame, before Marvel TV's Disney Plus era began, before Marvel animation even really became a thing, storyboard artist Todd Harris had a vision of Wakanda. A student of history and a longtime fan of Marvel, since before I was allowed to be left alone in a comic book story, he says, Harris sought to mash both of those themes together, combining what he calls the interconnectivity of Marvel with the interconnectivity of history, along with the interconnectivity of the human story. He wants to interconnect a lot of things. They let me go hog wild in an exclusive interview he had with Entertainment TV when it comes to various warriors of the fictional African nation throughout history. I really like the idea of everyone's view of history, he says, who serves as the showrunner and director, continues to state. The story starts off during the end of the Western Bronze Age, and that spark sets off a giant spy espionage story that reverberates through time. You get Wakanda grade James Bond and sometimes a Jane Bond with the backdrop of all the awesomeness that is Wakanda. EW's exclusive first look at the series reveals some warriors we'll meet. Harris sets expectations of how much he's able to reveal. We tried to mirror the actual spirit of the nation of Wakanda by keeping as many secrets as possible. However, we do know the story involves the Hatuzari, which translates as dogs of war in the Wakanda language. The CIS defensive divisions attempt to recover vibranium artifacts from Wakanda's enemies. When an inciting incident releases some of these things into the wild, they've got to, in a very hush kind of way, make sure that these things don't turn into a bigger problem, Harris says. We saw what happened when one disc got into the hands of one super soldier. It changed the course of the world. Talking about this, the first thing I said was, when I think of espionage, I think of James Bond. His exact words was James Bond like espionage. This setting the age assessment really has me interested in this series now. It was something that I wasn't really waiting on, but just that detail and how excited the writer is for it, I'm starting to get a little bit excited myself. But when it comes to Marvel stuff, I don't want to get my hopes up too high, but they really haven't missed with any of the animation.
I
What
was
do you
gonna
think about
say,
that?
I definitely agree because, like, yeah, when it comes to the Marvel side of television, there's definitely been some hit and miss, but their animated stuff, I mean, maybe the only exception is What If Season 3 was pretty underwhelming. But besides that, I'd say their animations have all been pretty hit so far. I like that we're visiting a completely different time period, and I think this is like the furthest we're going back in the MCU for like a whole series, not including like obviously the Thor flashbacks that we would get in the first movie. But like apart from like the occasional flashbacks, we've never seen like a Marvel movie or show like take place this far into the past before. So that's really intriguing. Especially because, okay, so if I'm not mistaken, I haven't been in school for a while, so my knowledge of history may not be what it should at this point for a person my age, but from what I understand, we don't know that much about the because they said it was like going to be like kind of the Bronze Age, if I'm not mistaken. And from what I
Mhm.
understand, there's a lot about that we still like don't know 100% certainty of. We only have like ancient relics and things to go off of, and that's cool because that means it gives the writers a lot of really cool creative opportunities, and not to mention some fun ways of how they could like tie it into like actual like ancient artifacts that we have today on display in museums, maybe give those like kind of, because he mentions being like an actual fan of history. So I could see him using that as a chance to like kind of tie some of these like real world kind of artifacts into like, you know, the show, kind of giving it like a really cool fictional like kind of origin to some of them. So I think that's like a cool concept. As for the espionage stuff, I got to kind of disagree with you on not thinking of Black Panther when it comes to espionage, because of that first Black Panther movie. The first third of it very much felt like a James Bond movie, in particular, like when he was getting his, you know, suiting up, getting ready to go to the States so he could investigate the one casino. Like, it didn't last very long until we were back in Wakanda, but just for that, like, kind of small period of time in particular, especially when Shuri was like giving him all the different tech that he was going to be using, showing off like the new Black Panther suit that he was going to be wearing. That to me felt very James Bond-esque. It kind of reminded me of, you know, Q when he would give James Bond all of his different gears and gadgets and stuff. But yeah, like it is interesting that that's the direction they're going, while also placing it in that time period. So I am curious what that's going to look like overall, like kind of like an espionage but set in the Bronze Age.
I could dig that. You know what? You're right. You're right. I forget about that first. When I think of Black Panther and the MCU, which this is weird. I go back to the Winter Soldier, and then I kind of think of like Wakanda Forever. I had times in my head skip the Black Panther movie. I don't know why. Like when I'm thinking of it, because I think of like not Winter Soldier, but Civil War. I think of those because those were the super iconic moments of when I saw him appear, and then the last time I got to see anything of him, you know what I'm saying, like in Wakanda Forever, like the last speech. So I think it's more of I don't know why I cut that out of my mind, but I sometimes forget about that. And I used to watch the movie religiously, and I forgot all about that.
It is, like, to be fair, only like a small portion of the movie compared to like everything else.
Yeah. So I don't know. I'm looking forward to it. I'm not super excited about Eyes of Wakanda, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I'd say I'm like, yeah, it's not the Marvel project I'm most hyped for, but I'm definitely intrigued. I'll definitely be watching it when it comes out.
You know what's funny is I'm not hyped for Fantastic Four anymore.
Really? Why not?
I don't know. I really don't, because Karate Kid Legends was that good. I just forgot that fucking Fantastic Four was coming out.
I need to see Karate Kid Legends. I forgot it was out.
Yeah,
we're not playing it at our theater for some reason.
It's so good. So good. That's crazy. So let's get into the next topic. What do we want to go with this? I kind of want to save that one for last. That's a big one to me. So let's go into the Keanu Reeves topic.
All right.
Because I'm a stand for this particular movie. This is one of my favorite DC movies. Keanu Reeves is not so happy with the Constantine 2 scripts, according to the original co-star. Constantine 2 may be facing some creative troubles, as one of the stars from the original DC film has stated that Keanu Reeves is not so happy with the script. DC Studios remains committed to telling Elseworld stories, and at the same time as James Gunn's DC universe. And Reeves' Constantine movie from 2005, which is a highly underrated movie, is one of the standalone franchise that potentially making a comeback. While Constantine 2 has been in development since September 2022, the DC sequel is seemingly dealing with some complications. In an interview with the director, Peter Stormare, who played Lucifer, which I would have to say, to me, that's one of the best adaptations of Lucifer that I've seen on screen, other than what was that other movie Keanu Reeves was in? When he was a lawyer.
Lawyer?
Was he a lawyer?
I don't know.
I'll figure it out. But it's crazy that both really dope interpretations of Lucifer, Keanu Reeves is in the movies. Peter Stormare, who played Lucifer in the original Constantine movie, shares some new details about the upcoming Constantine 2 sequel regarding Reeves' feelings on the script development. According to Swedish Star, Reeves is not entirely happy with the screenplay, as Stormare showed the following. And I quote, "It's a lot of back and forth because I think Keanu which I know pretty good, is not so happy with the scripts and usually what comes out of the studios. Because the first one wasn't successful in the beginning. It became a sleeper and became a cult movie. And now it is one of the biggest cult movies ever. But to do a sequel, the studios want to have, cars flying in the air. They want to have people doing flip flops and fighting action scenes. And I think Keanu says, I've done John Wick. This movie is spiritual. It's about demons and regular people. And I want to keep it that way. And we want to talk about that. I want to do God coming down exactly the same way, but in a black suit and looking more or less like Lucifer from the first one. I'm 12 years older, so it's going to be hard, completely intimate, completely imitate the first movie. But I think from Keanu, he wants to do a sequel that is very close to the first. I was a huge fan of the first Constantine movie. Constantine is what actually introduced me to the magic world of DC. I didn't even know that was a DC property until later when I started to research the character myself. I remember seeing Shia LaBeouf and thinking Shia LaBeouf was dope. The whole concept of the movie, the way the movie was shot and the way the movie looked, to me, looked like a big budget, good movie. It just didn't do well in the box office. But like you said, it became a cult hit. I kind of get turning it into John Wick Constantine, where he might feel like this movie is more spiritual, deals with demons, you know what I'm saying, the sorcerer, all that. Constantine is probably one of the reasons why I got so much into Supernatural, because that's what I felt like Supernatural was, just two Constantines running around doing everything Constantine would do. I'm with him on this though. I want to keep it grounded. I want it to be about the fight between heaven and hell, humans getting caught in the middle, you know what I'm saying, and trying to stand up, protect themselves from both sides. What do you think so far about that?
All I can say is that this is coming from the guy who did 47 Ronin, The Day the Earth Stood Still, and Johnny Mnemonic. And he's saying that he doesn't like the script. Yeah, this script must be terrible. But at the same time, it probably isn't that the script is that bad, but it's more just that he's really passionate about the character, which is really cool. It actually kind of makes me want to see the sequel happen now more than ever, because the first time it was announced, like, don't get me wrong, I like John Constantine. It was a good movie, but I wasn't like exactly hyped for the idea of a sequel, because to me it just sounded like they were just kind of going with the they were trying to get the cult audience that the movie had, for no other reason other than, kind of cult movies tend to sell nowadays. And so I thought it would have been like a pure money decision. But hearing the way he's talking about it and the reason specifically of why he's not satisfied with the script, specifically kind of relating to the idea that, they want to make it very Hollywood-esque. They want to add like all the action scenes. And I'm sure the flying cars bit was a joke, but, at the same time, I could see like them wanting to add something that just wouldn't fit that kind of tone. It makes me really want to see this movie now, because now I know this is like something that Keanu Reeves isn't doing for money. He's clearly doing this because he's passionate about the character. So I all I can say is good for him for sticking with his guns, and yeah, hopefully from doing so we get a better script and we don't end up with another Blade situation where it's constantly bad script after bad script and then it just never gets made. That's like my only worry about this. But yeah, like, again, just kind of like hearing how passionate he seems about the project. I'm all for it now. I'm kind of like down for Constantine 2 now than ever.
Yeah, I could definitely get it. And thank you, Kiki. The movie I was talking about, Keanu Wynn, was earlier, was definitely The Devil's Advocate.
Okay.
Great,
seen that.
Great movie. And to me, it was because the beautiful interpretation of Lucifer that you got from The Devil's Advocate, you know what I'm saying? And then the interpretation of the fallen angel Lucifer in Constantine. That interpretation of Lucifer, the way that Keanu tricked, you know what I'm saying, the devil into giving him his life back, because he had a selfless act, so God was going to take him into heaven, and Lucifer was like no, and then took the cancer out his lungs and let him live because he wants his soul. That whole thing to me was just an interesting dynamic. and watching him give up the cigarettes to chew the gum. That's the only thing threw me off, because you know what I'm saying. Constantine doesn't stop smoking. When he put that gum in his mouth, I was like, I don't know about this. So
But you know, it's got to show character growth in some way, and honestly, people relapse on cigarettes all the time, so I feel like we're going to see that in Constantine too.
Yeah, right. He'll get so stressed out about something. Maybe he gets stressed out about his love life and just starts smoking again. Kiki says the studio wants Constantine more like John Wick because it'll make more money. But yeah, we already have John Wick, and it's not like Keanu Reeves isn't the star of John Wick. So I can understand why he wants to do a more character piece when it comes to this character that is dear to him. That's the reason why he did the movie in the first place. He had the same thing when he did that last Bill and Ted's movie. You know what I'm saying? He wanted the characters to be. They could have made that an action-packed, you know what I'm saying, some type movie where they did all types of time travel and stuff. But no, he wanted a grounded movie within those characters, and it made the movie better for it. What's up, Dodie G Mac? Appreciate you checking in. Amazing artist. Go check that guy out, Dodie G Mac. Marcelino says, ironically, 47 Ronin had Keanu, and if it wasn't for John Wick coming out the following year, his reputation would have been even more tainted.
Yeah. I think it was John Wick that really like put him back on the map, because 47 Ronin was definitely not his comeback film.
But 47 Ronin might not be his comeback film. To me, it wasn't a bad movie. It just wasn't that movie. And I'm pretty sure he would have been somewhere. There would have been a major sequel. There'd been something, you know what I'm saying, that would have got him into what he was going to be into. Because I think John Wick was something that was birthed from, I feel like, The Matrix to start off with, as far as combat scenes and stuff like that. It's just something that he's into. I mean, Keanu's had a good run.
Oh yeah.
From Bill and from everything he's been in, Bill and Ted, Speed, you know what I'm saying, everything. Keanu's had a run that probably needs to be studied compared to the runs a lot of other people have had.
Yeah, especially because like even when he wasn't acting for a little bit, it wasn't because he wasn't able to get jobs. It was because like he needed some time to himself after like some personal tragedies in his life. But yeah, what's so cool about Keanu Reeves is that he seems to just love what he does, and he puts the effort into it. Like, you look at what he did to get ready for John Wick, what he did to get ready for The Matrix. It wasn't just like, oh, I'll take a couple of martial arts classes, over the next couple weekends. It was like, no. He, and especially for The Matrix, and the entire cast like trained like for months on end before they even got in front of a camera. So I think, like for me, if I'm a director and I know that I'm going to be demanding a lot from my actors, yeah, Keanu Reeves is definitely the kind of guy that I would want to go to. Like, okay, this is going to be a very demanding film, and I know that you're the kind of person that's willing to put in the work. So that's why I think, Keanu Reeves is definitely that perfect example of hard work can pay off. I'm not saying it does all the time. Don't worry. I'm not trying to be like, oh, you just need to work hard enough and everyone will succeed. No, that's not how the world works, unfortunately. But he is definitely an example of when you get there and you want to like, kind of keep where you're at, that he's the example of what will of like a success story from working really hard. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Definitely. I'm looking forward to hopefully this movie coming out. But right now, like you said, when it comes to that, we're probably in the same zone as with Blade is right now. So
yeah. I just hope, the writers, or not the writers, because I'm sure the writers want to listen. I just hope, Warner Brothers themselves listen, and they don't try to like, I can't really think of how else to put it other than this. I hope they don't try to Hollywoodify it. You know what I mean?
I really hope not. To be told, well, to be on, the first Constantine was Hollywoodified. It was a Hollywood movie. It wasn't a big budget Hollywood movie, but the way it was shot, the way it looked, that's the way those movies were looking back then. I just don't want it Fast and the Furious eyes, if that would, you know what I'm saying? I don't need Constantine flying cars in space. I just need a grounded movie. I would even like to see more of him going into the other world, the opening portals, maybe seeing the introduction of a couple of characters, maybe a Zatanna.
Oh, yes.
You know what I'm saying? Or something like that. So that'll be interesting to me. Dr. Fate, tie some other stuff into it,
I would be curious because it's like we know that eventually James Gunn is going to be opening up that side of the DC universe within his own DC universe. So I would be curious to see if James Gunn would let Constantine use other characters in that realm, like Dr. Fate and Zatanna, even though they're probably going to have their own versions. Because he says, and again, because we haven't seen what it's going to look like yet because we haven't even gotten the first movie yet, but he does suggest that he's okay with letting multiple versions of multiple characters existing at the same time. So we'll see over time if he actually like sticks to his no pun intended, if he sticks to his guns on that.
Let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. I'm all for it. In other news, we're gonna save this. We'll save this last DC for last because I feel like we're gonna have a good conversation about that. But one of my favorite Netflix shows has something going on. I don't know if you were a fan of the Wednesday show. I extremely was a fan of the Wednesday show. I feel like she nailed the character. I feel like even though I was upset with some of the looks of some of the characters, I feel like they hit the vibe, you know what I'm saying, totally when it came to Wednesday. It really felt good to me. But Wednesday creators promise horror movie worthy moments in season 2. This is an exclusive from Entertainment Weekly. Creator Miles Millar and Alfred Go aren't joking around when it comes to Wednesday's highly anticipated second season. It's been a minute. What was that, 2-3 years ago the Wednesday came out?
Something like that. Actually, let me look it up real quick.
Yeah, because it's been I feel like we've been waiting on Wednesday as long as we've been waiting on the Stranger Things. It just feels like that. 2022 is when it came out, 3 years ago. He goes to say, we certainly set out to really stretch ourselves and stretch what the show could do and see where our characters could go. The last thing you want is people to be disappointed having waited for so long. We're almost there, guys. We really want to ensure that the show is loaded with surprises and comedy and action, and that they see the characters they love, but introduce new ones as well. Coming off the show's incredibly successful first season, which hit Netflix in November 2022, they're looking to expand on the world they already spent 8 episodes establishing. Fans will remember that season 1 followed a teenage Wednesday Addams, played by Jenna Ortega, as she enrolled in Nevermore Academy and swiftly found herself hunting down a murderous monster. The mystery is a little more complex than season 1. But I also felt like the world is bigger and you really get to explore other characters. Goss says the new season, Wednesday's not in every scene, so you get to learn a little bit more about Enid. You get to learn a little bit more about Bianca and other characters as well. You'll also get to learn more about the Addams family as Pugsley enrolls as a student at Nevermore Academy, and Gomez and Morticia also find themselves sticking around for certain reasons. You get to explore the mother-daughter dynamic with Wednesday and Morticia, so it's really delving more into the Addams family and their backstory, but also their relationships. You can have a family that loves each other, but they still have their issues and clashes. Speaking of family, the show's adding a third generation of Addams women, as Millar puts it by bringing in Grandmama, played by Joanna Lumley. She's a whole different flavor of Addams that brings such delicious fun into the show and into the family. We weren't sure how many episodes the character would be in, but we're seeing how well it is played. I think Grandmama will definitely be coming back if we get a season 3. That's interesting. Adding another family member with Grandmama. Did we see her in the movies? I don't remember her from the show.
I don't believe so. It's been so long since I've seen the other two Addams Family movies. But I don't remember there being a grandma in it.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to look that up. Kiki says she loves Wednesday. She's a huge Wednesday fan. It's easy to be a fan of Wednesday. Wednesday is a very, very good, very well written and directed show. Acted, you know what I'm saying? Everything. It's really incredible. I really enjoyed it more than what I thought I was going to enjoy it, and I'm looking forward to this next season. And she also says less Wednesday in season 2. Don't want to watch what did she say? don't want to watch. Don't want to watch less Wednesday in season 2. LOL. Don't people want to watch for Wednesday Adams?
Oh, well, for Wednesday, yeah. I assume like it's more just like that they're now going to be giving the side characters just a little more focus, but I don't think it means they're going to like give her that much less screen time. I think it's more about it's less about giving her less screen time, more about just like kind of letting the side characters shine a bit more.
I think basically what they're saying is that when she's not on the screen, it's going to be more meaningful things happening than just like the meaningless conversations that we saw a lot of times when she wasn't in scenes. So hopefully they'll make it so that you grow to like the other characters also, because this is a really good ensemble cast. I was really impressed with everybody on the show, you know what I'm saying, itself. And I really like more interaction between the family themselves. So Pugsley actually coming to Evermore Academy is going to be interesting.
Definitely. I do like the idea of bringing in more of the families, giving them more roles. Like when I watched the show, I didn't watch more than the first 3 episodes. I don't remember why, but I just kind of like lost interest. So I may go back to and finish it later on. But I did really love the overall casting that they did, not just for Wednesday, but for the entire Addams family. So that's why it was like kind of surprising that they got so little screen time as the show continued. So it is kind of cool that we're going to get more from them. And like I really like the like Jenna Ortega was not that she was like not big when Wednesday came out, but she definitely isn't what she was, or she definitely wasn't what she is now. So now that she's really grown as an actress, I'm really curious to see how much she's really improved the role of Wednesday. And and plus, she seems to like have very strong opinions about the show in general, and so I do wonder if the writers for this season are going to take into like her thoughts on the show into account, because I remember she was like saying she wasn't really a fan of the love triangle during season 1. So I wondered, like looking at that, if like the writers are going to take her thoughts into account while working on season 2. But I do love it when actors are really passionate about the characters that they play, to the point where like they give their own kind of ideas of how to improve the writing when it comes to the show. But yeah, I think that if people are a fan of season 1 of Wednesday, it seems like season 2 is going to really improve. I do love obviously the article headline that some of the horrors, or some of the scenes that we're going to see, are going to feel like something out of an actual horror movie. That I think is kind of cool, because I feel like episode 1 kind of had a little more of a horror vibe than like the next couple episodes that I saw. So I kind of, hope they kind of go back to giving it more of that kind of cool gothic horror,
Yeah, I mean that'd honestly be peak if they do that. Just get back into that, because it did get a little bit lot comedic. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it got more about the jokes, where everything was funny rather than actually having like horror-esque elements, you know what I'm saying, to it. Like, it was funny instead of being disturbing. Not too disturbing, but you know what I'm saying? It's supposed to be something that make cringe a little bit, when it comes to the Addams family, especially when we're laughing at what Wednesday does to people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, maybe that's just us being desensitized as a human race, that we just find that stuff funny.
Yeah, if we were to take this show back to the 80s, people might actually be like, oh, what the heck? You guys call this a comedy?
Yeah, but hey, people like what they pick you like. What did Kiki say? Show is best when it's about Wednesday and yeah. It was really good when it was about that, but I understand what they were trying to do with the setup. They needed other characters to thrive if they want to keep that show, you know what I'm saying, going. So I was finding myself mad when they pulled away from that relationship, or pulled away from exactly what was going on with Wednesday, to get involved in other characters and the little plot threads that was going on. All I wanted to see was Wednesday mess with people's lives. I could just watch a YouTuber dress up as Wednesday and just mess with people, and that could be a whole Wednesday show for me.
that would be funny, like a prank, like a prank series, but like instead of like kind of the usual like dude bros doing their pranks, it's like someone just dressed up as Wednesday.
Yeah, definitely. That would be peak. That'll be peak fiction for me right there. All right, guys. We got one more article for you. I'm not able to load up the live viewer questions.
Oh, that's
So,
fine. I can bring them up.
all right, cool. Just making sure we can get to that point. 'Cause we know how they feel about their live viewer questions. That's what they wait around for. We got one more DC related. And has to do with good old Clayface. Talked about this before. Clayface inspired movie by a fan favorite Batman animated series story. I'm sold already. If it's from the Batman animated series, I don't care what it is, do it. Mike Flanagan sheds some light on his Clayface script and confirms he was inspired by the character's portrayal on Batman the Animated Series. So, in an interview with Comic Book to promote the film The Life of Chuck, watch it, good movie. The filmmaker discussed his work on the upcoming DC Universe movie, which drew from the two-part episode Feet of Clay. While Flanagan is passionate about Clayface and the Batman animated series, he pointed out that the screenplay is going through some revisions. He hopes the foundation he established is still intact when the film hits the theaters. Of course it is. I mean, that it's the perfect story, Flanagan said, when it comes about the Batman animated series inspirations. Feet of Clay, Ron Perlman, to me, that's it. That two-parter knocked me out. The short answer is that it's absolutely what inspired my script. That is the world I wanted to live in. The Batman animated series when I was growing up was my Batman. And as much as Michael Keaton was my Batman, the animated series really was my Batman. Flanagan then shared his thoughts on Clayface's development. I don't know what they're doing with Clayface. I'm not directing it, and the filmmaker will need to make it their own, he said. I know that they're doing work on the script. I'm off doing other things now. I really hope it remains true to the spirit of what I wanted it to be, but it's not my movie, so I'll be in the audience with you, anxious to see it when it comes out. So, coming to find out that what he was inspired by and what he wrote his script by, and which that was a really, really, really good episode. You know what I'm saying? Two-parter when it came to Batman, right? How do you feel about him saying they're doing rewrites and he doesn't know if that what he wrote is even going to be there when it hits the screen?
I'm not super worried about it, only because keep in mind, this movie was greenlit because James Gunn really liked the script. And I feel like if they're going to do a rewrite on the script, I hope they don't change like too much of what made it, the main thing that hooked James Gunn to the script. I hope they don't take that out of the script. As for what it's going to look like, that's going to be kind of the main thing. What's good is that he mentions that he was inspired by DC Animated Universe Clayface, and we see the DC Universe Clayface in Creature Commandos, and he looks similar, not exactly the same. Like his shape is a little different, but there's enough similarities between the two of them where I feel like if his script is, depending on how specific his script is, because that can always change based on writer to writer. Some writers keep things super vague to let the directors have full range on how the visuals are going to look. Other writers are very specific about it. I'm wondering if he went the more specific route so that way he can describe it to have like that kind of Batman animated series kind of like aesthetic atmosphere to it. And if that's the case, then where was I going with that? Then I could see like the director, following that. Depending on which director, I forgot. Did they get a director for this movie yet?
I'm pretty sure. I know they got the person who's rewriting it. It didn't say nothing in the article about director. Let's see.
See. Oh, they do. James
James
yeah.
James Watkins, right?
James Watkins, yes. Okay, cool. So yeah, depending on he directed the James McAvoy Speak No Evil. Okay. I'm not sure if I've seen anything else that he's
Speak No Evil was low key a really good movie.
I still haven't seen it. I know of the twist in it because it's apparently a remake. But yeah, I am definitely curious about that one. Okay, so yeah, I could definitely see this one having that kind of horror vibe that he probably wanted to add to the script. So yeah, I guess it's all definitely going to go. It's all going to really depend on how much James decides to stick with the script. I'm hoping, just because I really like Mike Flanagan as a writer, I'm hoping he doesn't change too much, and especially if Mike Flanagan is writing this after being inspired from Batman the Animated Series. Yeah. Also, sorry to go on a little bit of a off topic for a moment. Suddenly his casting in his show, the Fall of the House of Usher, it kind of makes more sense because you had Mark Hamill who voiced the Joker, and then oh man, I totally forgot his name, but the actor that played Isaiah Bradley in Captain America Brave New World, and then he also voiced Martian Manhunter in Justice League the Animated Series. Suddenly it's making sense why he probably cast the two of them in Fall of the House of Ushers, because the two of them were both, part of that DC animated universe.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know. I don't know if I'm super big on Clayface. I love that 2-part episode, but I don't know how he turned that into a whole movie without fluffing it out a lot. But I'm more interested in seeing how Clayface is portrayed in live action. You know what I'm saying? And who we get to play the character, what the character's actually going to look like when it comes to that. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. And we do have one more topic because Marcelino said we need to pay attention to the thumbnail.
That is true. That was on our thumbnail. I was also kind of curious. I'm like, do you mean one more topic until we get to that one that you skipped?
Yeah.
I was gonna ask that before we got to the live viewer questions.
No, I moved the topic over to the front so I wouldn't forget it. But when I moved it to the front, I put it behind StreamYard. So then I was like, I forgot about it. That's all it was. But
that makes sense.
But if Marcelino wants his Peacemaker, he can get his Peacemaker.
We're more than happy to talk about Peacemaker.
I'm more than happy to let you polish John Cena's Peacemaker. No, that was an incredible just a segue to from, was it Monday Night Raw? Was it Raw or SmackDown? It was one or the other this week. It was John Cena and the annoying boxer boy's brother. I forget his name, with the one energy drink. And it was Jey Uso and Cody Rhodes in the ring. And then he just made that comment. He was like, "What, you want to just polish John's Peacemaker?" And like the crowd went crazy over that. And I was like, I didn't think Peacemaker was that over on a on a mainstream, you know what I'm saying, thing for that joke to get over like that. But I digress. We're going into our last article to finish this up before we get into the live viewer questions. This is also for entertainment.
Sorry, real quick. Only because you brought up wrestling and John Cena, I gotta bring up one of my favorite. I'm sure this is super dated now to everyone who actually keeps up with wrestling. But one of the funniest lines I saw was during WrestleMania when it was after a match, John Cena walks up into the ring and just goes, "That match reminds me of my movies. It sucked." This was, of course, before the Suicide Squad.
Yeah, that's dope. I like, he's on a heel run right now where he's not letting the crowd get the wrestling that they want, since they were against him for so long. So he's just not doing the things that people like. So it's real interesting. But to get to the article, James Gunn and John Cena talk Peacemaker seasons 2, new opening credits, and Michael Rooker's role. Do you really want to taste a new opening credit scene in Peacemaker season 2? Credits James Gunn and star John Cena promise the new dance sequels will be just as good as the now viral scene set to Wigwam's Do You Want to Taste It, with the added bonus time. I'll give you an exclusive. You get to eagerly try to dance for the first time, Gunn tells Entertainment Weekly. So that's really something he has not the best at, but he really tries to join in on the dance sequence. At the end, he got a little pose time. While fans won't get to see the new credits dance sequence until Comic-Con in July, Cena promised it'll be worth the wait. This time around, everybody looked at it through a different lens, knowing how much the audience enjoyed the first one. We knew it was going to be the cornerstone of the show, so let's dive in. Everyone gave their best in season one, but I just think people now know the importance of it, and hopefully it shines through in season two. I wonder if every season they're going to have a new dance sequence. This is starting to feel real Cosby Showish to me. As for why
I definitely hope it's a new one every season. That could be kind of like one of the big selling points whenever there's a new season.
Yeah, new season, new dance you guys got to learn for TikTok. As for why the show scrapped the fan favorite credit sequence to film a new one for season two, Guns explains they really had no choice. We killed everyone in the season, so we kind of had to. Everyone died, he said with a laugh. Also, we have a lot of new cast members in Langston Fleury, Sol Rodriguez, and Sasha O'Borday. And Michael Rooker's in the cast. Judah Master is a bigger character this time, so I knew that I needed to do a new dance. The bigger question that Gunn faced was whether to keep the Wing Wham song for the new choreographed dance or pick a totally new hair metal track. I really went back and forth an awful lot. And at the end of the day, I decided that we were going to use a new song that's a little bit more about what the season is about. But the showrunner and new head of DC clarifies he didn't set out to one-up last season's credit sequence because he knew it would most likely fail. I think there's 4 billion views of that dance sequence on TikTok. So when you have something like that that's that viral, I just want to do a good job with the new dance sequence. I don't know if the dance sequence is ever going to one up the first because no one expected it. It was a complete surprise and you just can't replicate that. However, the surprise within the show itself, I think, replicate that many times over because there's so many more twists and turns this season with what happened and what you're going to find out about that universe. It's been about 3 years since Peacemaker dropped. It's a lot of time in between all these shows coming back, ain't it?
Mm-hmm.
It's been about 3 years since it dropped. They're really hype about this new dance sequence. This is the news we get. We don't get the news about villains, plot, anything. They give us new dance sequence. We're changing it up because we killed everybody. Does this make you more excited for the new season of Peacemaker?
Honestly, I'm kind of happy we still don't know fully what the main villain is going to be for this season because we had no idea going into season one what like the overall plot was going to be, other than the story behind Peacemaker, like him having to work for Argus after like wanting to kind of like retire from that. That's kind of like all we really knew going into season one. So with season two, I like that all we really know about this is that he wants to do more, but like he's still seen by other superheroes as like a total loser. So I can't wait to see how that plays out with their new villain. I'm surprised they don't go in because like it said like in the article like it'll go into Michael Rooker's character. We still don't go into it. All we really know about him is that he's like apparently going to be the arch enemy to Eagly. So like not even an enemy to John Cena's Peacemaker. He's an enemy to his pet. So that just to me that just sounds absolutely hilarious, and I can't wait to see how that plays out. But yeah, the intro sequence, like I loved it in season one. It sounds what intrigued me was when James Gunn in the article like mentioned that he wants it to reflect the story of season two. So I'm kind of curious to see what song they use and what kind of if you like pay attention to the song lyrics, like what kind of ways they might be foreshadowing like certain themes or certain plot lines throughout the season. But love season one, cannot wait to go into season two. I'm mostly excited to see how they address the Justice League cameo. If that gets addressed as, oh, that all season one took place in a different universe, everything happened exactly the same until the Justice League arrived, or if they I don't know, like James Gunn jokingly said it would be addressed in this season, but I couldn't tell if he was like genuine because he said in a joking manner, so I'm not sure if it's actually going to get addressed or not. But yeah, love it, cannot wait.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. Maybe it was a thing where he was shooting a commercial. or something. I hope it's like the dumbest, wackiest thing ever for, you know what I'm saying, to write that off. Like he was doing a cereal, like he was trying to do an ad for a cereal commercial or something like that, or something he didn't get. You know, those were all like stand-ins of the characters or something like that.
So that whole scene where he's just like, "You guys are late, you fucking dickheads," and then they're like, we were gonna use this for a cereal commercial, but then you had to drop an F-bomb, so
Yeah, that'd be cool. Marcelino says, let me just use my finger. I hope they do a better job at addressing Peacemaker's bisexual side, because of how it was done in the show felt like queer baiting since it was treated like a joke.
I mean, there was a scene where with his dad where, and this is why I think like it's not addressed too much, is because, you know, I think a part of Peacemaker still denies that side of him because of the way his dad kind of like said it when he was about to like kill him in front of like the other like. What were like, I know he was called the White Dragon, but what was he? I'm just gonna call his group the Clan because that's basically what they were. But basically when he was just like, when he slept with all those whores and the men, you know, I think it was kind of addressed in that way, and I think that's why he himself like doesn't bring it up as a character, because like even though his dad's a terrible piece of shit, there's still a part of you know, of him that really wants his dad to like him. So I think that that's still like a part of himself that he denied in season 1. So I think they'll kind of address it more in season 2 now that his dad isn't around. But yeah, that's like that's my guess.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think it wasn't meant to be taken as like a joke. I think it's him dealing with the situation himself, and he's the one who jokes it off. So I think it's a better, it's a bigger story to tell around that, because I think part of the reason his bisexuality comes from the way his father treated him and him looking for love from men, and I think that's something that he has to deal with and get through to understand if it's something that he's doing just because of how he was treated, or if it's something that he really is or how he feels. And I think you'll get into that as the story goes on how that plays, and then you'll feel a more attachment to that, you know what I'm saying, from him experiencing that side of himself through the character as he starts to grow.
Yeah.
And so I was really surprised by Peacemaker, the show. I wasn't a fan of the character in the Suicide Squad movie, but I really became a fan of the character after we got to learn who he was in the show and everything. I think John Cena does an amazing job as that character. And I think they built, especially in the first season, they built an amazing cast around him and what it was going to be. So I'm looking forward to see what they do. I'm looking forward to learning that dance sequence. Kind of upset because it took me so long to learn the first one. Now to let me know that you're doing the new one. You know, I was getting geeked. I was ready for the new season to come out, and I had to dance already, and I was going to break it out. Like now, yeah. Thanks a lot, James Gunn.
Hey, don't let that stop you. If you want to do the Peacemaker season 1 dance, do it.
Yeah, that was a waste of 6 months. 6 months and recover, and you know what I'm saying, 2 days of recovery in the hospital one time when I fell. So we don't heal like we used to at this age. So thanks, James Gunn. I really appreciate you. Marcelino said, weren't you going to talk about Ariana Grande joining Meet the Flocker sequel? I would like you to talk about other things, not just Marvel and DC.
For this one, we decided to replace it with the Clayface article only because I have never seen any of the Meet the movies, and you said you weren't a fan, right?
I'm not a fan. I'm not even a fan of Ariana Grande, and I don't want to speak bad about nobody. You know what I'm saying? What's going on? Plus, we did talk about something other than Marvel and DC. We talked about Wednesday.
That's true. And if you joined us for honorable mentions, I brought up King of the Hill and The Rehearsal. Neither of those are Marvel or DC. So
yeah, the Ariana Grande, the Meet the Fockers is a lot more Adams. You know what I'm saying? Wheelhouse when it comes to those style of movies. I'm not a Ben Stiller fan. So I really don't check his movies out like that. He's like, I just crushed his world.
Because I may not be a fan. I may not have seen those movies, but have you seen Severance? I mean, he's not in them, but he oh, dude, it is. Okay.
That's a difference though. He's not in them. The stuff that he's in annoys me. He annoyed me in Dodgeball, bro. Like
I love him in Dodgeball.
He's the most cringe-worthy parts of Dodgeball to me. Like I can't get over it. I love that movie, but I guess you're supposed to hate him in the movie. But
Yeah.
like it's to the point where like I'm irritated and my skin's crawling.
That's funny. Oh man, because for me, I love to hate him in Dodgeball. Like every time he's on screen, I don't know, it just cracks me up every time.
Now and see, and he said,
Chuck Norris.
I love Ariana and her music, and I loved her in Wicked.
I did like her in Wicked.
I haven't seen that version of Wicked. I've seen the stage play. You know what I'm saying? I've seen the Broadway play. I haven't seen that version. Um, I've just never been a fan of her from television or whatever, so I never really follow the stuff she goes in. Her music for me, daughter loves her. You know what I'm saying? People I've dated loved her and stuff like that. Sonically, it messes with me because of the way her music is mixed. Because I spend a lot of time engineering and stuff like that, and it's something about the way they mix her vocals that sonically messes with me. Like if I listen to too much of her music, I get a headache. Not her music isn't bad. It's just the way that it's mixed. It's somebody else that does that to me too. Um, it's another female singer. I can't remember who it is. I think it's Camila Cababo or whatever her name is. It's something about the way they mix their highs that it irritates my ears because of how I'm used to consuming music when I record. You know what I'm saying? Like when we record, mix, and master. It's something about the range that they peak her stuff at that bothers me. Like when I'm listening to it, it's a couple other acts that do that too, but I tend to stay away from that music. I believe she makes incredible music. Like it's some stuff that doesn't bother me, like Seven Rings and stuff like that. But she's singing in a different tone and it's mixed different because it was produced by somebody different. But there's some stuff that just drives me crazy. So I just try to stay away from it. But her and Meet the Fockers, the Meet the Family or whatever the movie's called, I just messed that all up. In the Meet the Focker sequel, I do have to say that she is an incredible actress. She can play a role. You know what I'm saying? So whatever role they put her in, I know 9 out of 10 she's gonna kill it. I just hope it's not I just hope they don't typecast her as like the airhead. You know what I'm saying? Something like that, and just have her play. I want to see her play something maybe a little bit more serious when it comes to them. You know, I don't want her doing the little airhead thing because that is just so overplayed, and I feel like she's more talented than that.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, I definitely recommend the first Wicked movie if you haven't seen it. She's great in it. I've never listened to her music outside of Wicked, except for maybe when my little brother would be watching Victorious. Maybe I would hear her sing every now and then, but I barely remember. But that being said, yeah, she was great in Wicked. Also, Wicked's a really good movie, except for one small thing. So what's funny is in Hollywood movies, I constantly complain that like a lot of times they're edited so fast that there's usually not much breathing room. I think Wicked is like the first time I've complained about like a mainstream movie of that budget having too much breathing room at times, which is like weird because usually I complain about the opposite. But other than that, I thought it was a pretty good movie.
he literally just made us talk about the Meet the Flockers and Ariana Grande when we said we wasn't going to talk about it.
Yeah, it was brief. We didn't go over the full article, so
Yeah. That was a very good job. I like how you did that, Marcelino. I like how you did that. You're an amazing puppeteer. We appreciate you for that. You coaxed us into a whole opinion piece about that. That's good.
Mind tricked us.
Yeah, Jedi mind tricked us. Appreciate that. But you guys know what the time for. You able to pull those up?
I am indeed. It's been a minute since I've screen shared. I think I remember. Yes, here we go.
Okay.
Present, share screen.
Ready?
There we go. Share. And then now, everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
Here we go. You're going to have to read the questions because I obviously can't see them.
All right. First one comes from Jessica Friedman. Do you think we could see Superman and see a Superman and Supergirl movie one day? What are you looking forward to seeing in the King of the Hill reboot? Do you think we will get a live action core series one day? Okay, so for the first question, specifically Superman and Supergirl movie. I feel like there's a good chance we would see that if they make a Superman 2 or Supergirl 2. I feel like whoever gets the sequel first will probably have their sequel featuring the other character more prominently. I don't know if they'll be a main character, but I could see it kind of. Yeah, I don't know if I'd see them doing a Superman and Supergirl movie specifically, though. But I do see them being together on screen. What about you?
I don't see them doing a joint movie. I think they're more concerned on the world's finest movie.
Mm-hmm.
But I do believe she will be heavily featured in future projects. So I think you see a lot of them on screen together. You just won't see a Superman, you know what I'm saying, ex Supergirl film.
Yeah, exactly. Um, and then what am I most looking forward to about the King of the Hill reboot? Who so much. But if I had to suggest just one thing, it's really just going to be seeing how much Hank has kind of changed from kind of moving away and then coming back, and just seeing how much of Texas has changed from the Texas that he knew when he left, and how much of it is it's different now, and especially like with a lot of more modern kind of lifestyles being implemented. I mean, like in the cover we see Dale using a VR set. No, I think Boomhauer. We see Boomhauer with a VR set. We see Dale vaping. We see Bill ordering DoorDash. We see a 5G tower in the background. So we see all this kind of stuff. So it is going to be kind of cool to see how Hank interacts with this new environment, and see how much he's because there's always like that question in King of the Hill, because it's always been Hank versus like society, and whether or not Hank is the one who adapts or if he just kind of goes about it his own way. And so it's always about him like adapting most of the time. So I'm curious to see how he adapts. What about you? Because you said you were a fan of King of the Hill.
Yeah. I don't know if they'll do this because I kind of fell off King of the Hill the last couple of seasons. So I don't even know if this character still exists. And I don't know how weird or how creepy this makes me sound. But my favorite concept in that show was when the dude did not know the Native American guy was sleeping with his wife.
Yes.
I could never figure out how he did not know. And I would love for him to find out. That's my whole thing. I just want him to find out that that's happening. And then I want what I'm saying, what ensues from that.
So what's interesting is that Nancy stopped seeing him after, I want to say it was season 4, but in the new intro we see her with John Redcorn again, which so I'm wondering if there's like some issue going on with Dale and Nancy again, and like there's a strain on their relationship. But yeah, I'm right there with you. I want to either see him find out or have them finally confirm that fan theory that he's known this whole time. But he just either doesn't care or he's just been in full on denial mode,
Yeah, definitely. I'm looking forward to that.
My favorite moment in season 1 with the two of them was when John and Dale are like side by side, and Nancy's like, "Honey, do you want a beer?" And they both say yes at the same
Yes,
time. Dale
yes.
gives him a look, and at first you're like, "Oh, does he know?" But then you hear his inner monologue, and he goes, "How did he know I wanted a beer?"
that dynamic, although how messed up it is one of the funniest things about that show to me.
It is.
And I want to see how they deal with tariffs on propane.
Yes. Oh my. Oh man. Actually, I don't know if they will, because like the whole tariff thing didn't go in until after the show was already done with production. So unless it's one of those they thought ahead of time, I'm not sure if they will. But maybe season 2. Last question though from her is, do you think there will be a live action core series one day? Well, we know that there's going to be a season 2 of the live action Avatar, the Last Airbender series. So I think it's really just going to depend on how those two seasons or how the next 2 seasons play out. Because if the quality is the same as it was for season 1, I definitely don't think so. I think that's going to be the end of it after season 2.
I don't know if we'll get a live action series. I think we might get a continuation where like Aang's training Korra type stuff. I don't know as much as I like. I was one of them that loved the Korra series.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really enjoyed it, but I don't think she's strong enough to stand alone.
I think she is. I just feel like if they're going to test something with her, they're going to test it with Aang first. I mean, we see it coming with the upcoming Aang Avatar movie next year, which
Mm-hmm.
is supposed to be animated, but also a continuation of the series. So I think it'll be kind of like based on how that movie does if they do something to continue her story. I think they like to like kind of dip their toes in the water with like the Aang Avatar and then seeing how that does. And then if it does well, then they'll try something similar with Korra.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I can
Um,
dig it.
so next question is from Kiki, and it's Andor is raising in viewer or Andor is rising in viewership. It may not be a bomb after all with the general public. I feel like a lot of non-Star Wars channel reviewing Andor now. It's most likely going to be nominated for several Emmys. Do you think we can finally call it a hit? Honestly, I didn't even know it wasn't a hit to begin with because like everyone I've been talking to about it seemed to be really into it, but I could see the ratings being low at first because when the show was coming out, while people were talking about it online, none of my coworkers were watching it, and they're only just now watching it now that all 12 seasons or all 12 episodes are out. So I wonder if it's just one of those things where people just really wanted to wait to binge the entire show. But you know, even if it doesn't have the best viewership, it's one of the best reviewed like many people are calling it the best Star Wars, like in general, like even better than the original trilogy. So I would hope that Disney wouldn't look at this as a failure. They would look at this as a success. But I guess we'll have to wait and see how that turns out. But yes, I do agree. I think it's going to get several Emmy nominations at the very least.
I don't think it was a failure at all. I think it's a good written, good acted, and good produced show. The same way in the fact where I don't feel like Thunderbolts was a failure, even though it didn't make the money back. I feel like it did what it was supposed to do as a movie to set up. You know what I'm saying? Next movie, and I think Andor did what it was supposed to do to set itself apart from everything else that we saw Star Wars. You know, kind of like how it was when we saw Rogue One. Yeah, that Darth Vader scene at the end was good, but the movie was good up until the end of that. You know what I'm saying? Till that scene happened. That scene was just some extra, you know what I'm saying, for us. So Emmys, I hope, I don't know. There's a lot of good television out there. It's a lot. So going up against, even when it comes to like sci-fi shows and stuff like that, it's a lot of really good television out there. It's hard for what they call niche, you know what I'm saying, subject matter like that, that we enjoy a lot of times to win stuff like that. But I do believe they deserve it.
Definitely. Next question from her is James Gunn did nothing to deserve taking the reins at DC. Does his wait, what? Did nothing to deserve taking the reins at DC. Does his legacy at DC depend on Superman's performance at the box office? Should he have made Superman 2 with Henry Cavill instead? I'm glad they decided to do the full reboot on the Superman side of things. And you know, it's not that I hated Henry Cavill as Superman. I just, you know, I hadn't seen a movie where he really sold me as a Superman. I think like, okay, last podcast I was here, 2 weeks ago, I think Adam put it the best. My biggest issue with him as Superman is like specifically when it came to his Clark Kent, it felt like he wasn't necessarily playing Clark Kent. He was playing Superman with glasses on, which the more I think about that quote from Adam, I'm like, yeah, that's I think that he nailed it right there. But yeah, I think that with David Cornsweet, he seems to be giving the two different like kind of performances that you kind of need for Superman. I think that Clark Kent and Superman should feel like two different people. I feel like when you're doing a role like Superman, there's three roles that you're doing. You're doing Clark Kent, you're doing Superman, and you're doing Kal-El. Superman's the face that he puts on in front of the public because he has to be a good example for everyone. Clark Kent is the disguise that he's putting on so that no one knows that he's Superman. He purposely is like overly dorky. He puts on like again, it's a persona, it's a mask that he puts on to hide who he actually kind of is. The only time he's really himself is with his parents, and then after Lois Lane finds out who he is, and then also the other Justice League members, and that is Kal-El. That is his third, and that is his real personality. That is who he is when he is not trying to mask himself as either Superman or as Clark Kent. He is Kal-El, and what I like about what we get to see in the trailers is that we get to see the Kal-El side of him, especially when he's being interviewed by Lois Lane, and the anger that he has is like kind of genuine anger. But then we also see him like kind of putting on that Superman face when he's in public, and we also see him kind of putting on that Clark Kent face when he's at the Daily Planet. So I feel like David Cornsweet really has that whole side of Superman nailed. Then I don't think we would have gotten that from Superman 2 with Henry Cavill. I think it would have looked great. I think it would have been visually impressive. And I think there would have been some complex themes as well. I just don't think it would have felt like the Superman that I want to see on the big screen. I feel like we got that with Superman and Lois with Tyler Hoechlin. That was like what I think of when I think of Superman. And I think like every time I see these trailers, it's again what I think of when I think of Superman. When I look at Henry Cavill's Superman, I see Zack Snyder's Superman. When I look at David Cornsweet's Superman, I see Superman, basically, is what I'm getting at. So that all being said, I'm kind of glad James Gunn is taking this route. I hope it does well. And yeah, I think that a lot of what DC's legacy and how the movies are going to be going forward, it really is going to depend on the success of this movie. I don't know if they're hoping it crosses $1 billion, but I hope in general that it's enough of it a success to where, James Gunn and Peter Safran can keep doing what they're doing with a lot of confidence. But yeah, what do you think?
I honestly think that his track record speaks for itself. As far as like his legacy goes with DC, I don't think Superman would define his legacy. I think he's already started to etch his legacy out with things like Peacemaker and Suicide Squad. You know what I'm saying? Different things like that. But with Guardians of the Galaxy, Slither, Super, I think it's movie 43, Belko Experiment, Romeo and Juliet. Like he's done a lot in order to make himself a staple on being able to take stories and create, worlds. I mean, he took a slug in Slither and made it the most terrifying thing, in a movie, and created a whole world around that slug, where it came from, why it was there, different stuff like that. So I think he's a great world builder. And what they need right now at DC is a world builder, somebody that could take all these elements they have and actually build a world that could sustain these characters instead of trying to just build something off the backs of the characters themselves. Because if you have the world that they live in, and that's honestly what Superman feels a lot like to me. It feels like it's a world that Superman lives in. If you look around, even at the trailers, with him saving the kids, everything that's happening around him, he's the centerpiece of all this action that's going on around him. The world is moving almost while he's standing still, especially in those like them slow-mo spots. It's like you're getting to see what the world really thinks about this character and how that character reacts to the world. And I feel like that's the basis that we have been missing when it comes to the DC universe, because we go straight into, we're going to fight gods. You know what I'm saying? But why? Why are they here? Why are they doing this? Why this world? Why this person? Why? Like, I really feel like he's going to build up more of a backdrop of what we really need to know and expect.
Definitely. And then last question from her is Avatar 3 will make $2 billion, true or false? I'm gonna for now say false, but if the trailer for Avatar 3 shows us something that we haven't already seen in Avatar 1 or 2, then I might be wrong. But for now, I think Avatar 3 is, I don't think it's gonna flop. I think it's gonna be the first to not cross $1 billion though.
Avatar 3, $2 billion.
Yeah.
I take the under on that. I don't think any movie, no matter what it is now, is, you know what I'm saying, making much more than $1 billion. Moviegoers just have too many options to be able to see movies. We still haven't went back to the everybody going to the movies every Friday to see, every movie. I mean, the only reason I go to the movies as often as I do is because I got that A-list pass. And there, regardless of people think, there's not AMC movie theaters everywhere.
Mm.
So, I can't rock with the 2 billion. 2 billion, nah. I can see them breaking $1 billion, but I think they break $1 billion over their whole run. And they might even throw it back in the theater to make sure it does that.
Wow, a Marcelino question that isn't a full-on essay. All right, question number 1. Batwoman had Carolyn Dries as showrunner, but if you could replace her with someone as showrunner, who would it be? Ooh, okay. Man, because the kind of tone that I would, actually, I kind of already know this answer because they already proved they can make a good Batman show with Arrow season 1. Replace her with Greg Berlanti. I think Greg Berlanti, was he the showrunner for Arrow or Mark Guggenheim? One of the two. Because I know that they stayed on as producers for all the other Arrowverse shows. I can't remember if either one of them were the showrunner for Arrow, but whoever was the showrunner for Arrow season 1, I feel like that's kind of the direction I wish they kind of took Batwoman.
Yeah. I can get that. I think it was Guggenheim though. I think
here we go.
I might be wrong.
Yeah, according to Marcelino, it's Mark Guggenheim. So okay.
Yeah. I was just gonna say I believe it was Guggenheim. I got 2 names in my head, and they're two eyeball names. But with it being I got 2 different names because because of the 2 different Batwomen, right? So for our second Batwoman, when they came back in season 2, I think I'm going with Shonda Rhimes. She's the Grey's Anatomy showrunner.
Oh, gotcha.
And just because I think she would have did well with the aspect of black, you know what I'm saying, Black Batwoman, you know what I'm saying, everything that has to do with race and stuff that had went on with the show afterwards. Mm-hmm. And for like the first season, probably Amy Sherman Palladino, the showrunner for like Gilmore Girls.
Oh, okay.
So, and that's because I want to see somebody step out of their comfort zone, but I also want more story-based elements. You know what I'm saying? I feel like they could have actually did something when it comes to dynamics of the individuals in the show and been able to write it more to where the characters themselves meant more than just the character of like Batwoman and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm weird like that. I watch weird stuff. Leave me alone.
How dare you not watch only DC and Marvel? I'm kidding. Yeah, it's like, okay, so I haven't watched all of Grey's Anatomy, but like my roommate watches it, so I'll catch like glimpses here and there. And this kind of goes back to what we were saying about oh god, there was something horror related where we were like talking about how we as an audience have gone like very what do you call it, desensitized, I guess you could say. And I think that's me with Grey's Anatomy, because every now and then I'll see like an injured person on the show, and just something about the way it's filmed just like it feels so silly to me sometimes, so I can't help but laugh at some of the kind of like moments. Like one dude, like it should have been disturbing to me, but one dude on his bike who gets run over by a car and his legs are like pointed upwards. There's just something about the way it was filmed. It's like it's supposed to be disturbing, but I couldn't help but laugh. Whereas like The Pit, though, I've seen like a couple episodes of that one I'm watching. I'm like, oh, this is actually disturbing, which is another hospital drama, another really good one.
Yeah, I could definitely dig that. But if you think if that doesn't serve, go watch The Pit.
Mm-hmm.
Go watch The Pit on Max. You'll change your tune.
Oh, what the heck? Okay, this okay. I'm gonna censor myself when I read this part, and since I don't really know anything about her, I may just leave you to answer this question. Why do so many people hate Ronda Rousey? Never watched Ronda Rousey fight where she loses on YouTube. The comment section is filled to the brim with comments that enjoyed her getting her ass beat and knocked out. But with other female fights, the comments will be filled with complaints towards both fighters, where the loser will be complimented on how great she performed. Ronda Rousey doesn't get that. It's almost as if people treat her as if she murdered or assaulted someone, which is why it's satisfying to see her get beaten. I have like I know of her. I've seen some of her performances in movies, but I don't really keep up with wrestling or UFC, so I have no idea. You want to take this one?
Yeah, this is actually a really easy question to answer, and it goes twofold because it's not just about her. The reason why people don't like her is because she was made. Like, yes, she went through the Olympic trial. She did everything she did in the Olympics with judo and stuff like that. But money was put behind her to make her the face of women's UFC, and you know what I'm saying, to put her on that pedestal and get her as quickly as possible to, you know what I'm saying, the championship, to be the face, because the product is about making money and making people, you know what I'm saying. She was likable, she was popular coming out of the Olympics, so they put the money behind her in order to make her the face of women's fighting in UFC. The problem is that there was a lot more women that fight better than her, as we saw with Holly Holmes, and you know what I'm saying, and different individuals like that. That all it took was putting her up against somebody she didn't match well against, you know what I'm saying, for her to be beat. That was a lot of people's concept with her, is that she didn't deserve all the recognition she got. Yes, she was the name that wore the flagship, but she was never the best woman fighter. As there was, she always fought competition, to me, that was lower than her, I guess you have to say. Another thing is that the fact that she is so pro woman, but yet she the whole thing with her husband and the domestic disputes, the domestic disputes with another woman, you know what I'm saying, quote unquote, and the fact that she was championing her husband on that. That's why a lot of people don't like her when it comes to that. Or it could be as simple as her being thrust to the head of the line when she decided she wanted to go to the WWE, just because of her name. A lot of women who put in work to have this, you know what I'm saying, to have the stance they had, and she's being thrown to the forefront just because of name recognition. Similar to similar to how Logan Paul is being done right now. While other people don't like Logan Paul, because there's a lot of people who have been in that business for 20 plus years, breaking their backs, doing everything they need to make, and because they don't have the following he has on social media, when they weren't allowed to use social media like that in order to promote themselves, the fact that he gets thrown to the front of the line. That's a lot of the problems that people have with her.
Yeah, that makes sense then. So kind of like the same reason people get angry at like Nepo babies, pretty much.
Basically.
Question number 3. Cecile Horton.
That's a question. She is, yeah, and she is also trans. Anti-trans.
Oh, she is.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. then I already don't like her. Cool. Cecile Horton has been labeled the worst and most hated character in the Arrowverse. She often reads people's minds as a way of of telling the audience how they feel rather than expressing it through acting. But also, her becoming a superhero is also insulting to the actual heroes like Green Arrow and Batman, and just bad writing. Do you share this stance as well? And is it amazing how some people who initially hated Iris have come around to defend her and say that she's a better written character than Cecile or any other Eric Wallace era character? Okay, so for the first part of that question of Cecile, so my biggest issue with her character after she got powers is that it felt like the writing, it felt like every time she was on screen, or not every time, but like I'm obviously over exaggerating a little bit, but it felt like she was a different character almost every time she was on screen, because I swear, like in the first 2 seasons, like she's very much like kind of a straight to the point, no nonsense kind of a character. And then like when she gets like powers, it's like suddenly she kind of has like a much goofier persona to her. And the other thing too is like her inconsistency on the moral implications of when she uses her powers. Like there are times where she refuses to read her clients' minds because she's like, oh, that would be unethical of me. But then she does it at other times, and it almost like completely ignores like what she said. So it's like whether or not she chooses to use her powers and how powerful her powers actually are constantly depend on the episode, and not like, you know, a consistency in her power scale. So like, you know, I think that's what it comes down to, is that she's just the most inconsistent character in any Arrowverse show out there. And I really don't want to sound like I'm hating on the actress, because I think the actress does a great job with what she's given. I just think for some weird reason, no one who writes for the Flash knows how to write her character. It's like they all have a completely different idea of what her character is. It's like you know, early 2000s writers working on Wonder Woman. You know, everyone has a completely idea of what Wonder Woman stood for in the early 2000s of DC comic books, and that's why she always felt very inconsistent back then. I feel like that really applies to Cecile on the Flash. Like no one, I think if you were to ask every writer of the Flash who Cecile is, what she stands for, and all that, you would get a completely different answer from everyone. And yeah, as for the second part of the question, I find it funny just because like with her, it's not because like the writing of her character per se is inconsistent. It's the writing of what the writers want to do with her character. I've never hated Iris as a character. I've always hated what they did with her character in the show, because it never seems to really fit like what she's good at. They every time they try to focus on her reporting, it's like they do it for like a few episodes and then they give up and they give her something to do that has nothing to do with her strengths as a reporter. I really wish that they kind of took notes from Superman and Lois, because I think that show nailed how to write a reporter character, you know, who's like also a love interest to the main superhero. So I wish they kind of took some notes from that show with her character. But you know, it's funny, yeah. The two women of color in the show both suffer from inconsistent writing, but for different reasons. You know what I mean? One's inconsistent because of how she's written. The other's inconsistent because of how she's utilized. But what are your thoughts?
With Cecile, I think a lot what happened with her was off screen. She went from being this serious, you know what I'm saying, person in the courtroom, you know what I'm saying, who had to do things about the right way, being thrust into having powers, and being thrust into being around this group of people who are goofy and silly and open and caring, you know what I'm saying, to start off with. And that's not something that she was used to doing. So she started to adapt some of those mannerisms and everything from those people that she was around. So it was only going to be this, you know what I'm saying, when you're around people. I think you would say this when you're around your girl, you know what I'm saying? Like you were a different person when you met her, but now that you were around her, you started to adapt some of, you know what I'm saying, her quirks and her inconsistencies that she does onto yourself. You tend to act like those around you when you're around them long enough. It's the same thing that you put you know what I'm saying, two dogs in a cage, you know what I'm saying, the dog's going to tend to act like the more dominant one, you know what I'm saying, in the cage after a while. So I could understand where her character will go through those drastic changes, because she went from being constantly alone to being in a group of people who act different, care about her and stuff like that. So she was able to let those guards down to do stuff. Now, as far as like the inconsistencies between how she used her powers, I understand the client, you know what I'm saying, privilege of where she couldn't use it there. But every time I always saw her use it outside of there, it wasn't with like one of her clients. It was just, you know what I'm saying, around somebody to know something, you know what I'm saying, something like that, especially with her husband. She has the means to use that on her husband whenever she feels like it. That's her husband. You know what I'm saying? Friends and family and different stuff like that. The only thing that I didn't like about the character is that they took her so much out the courtroom, but they made her a mother, you know what I'm saying, and part of a team, and there for that type of stuff, and then starting the law firm, you know what I'm saying, the law firm to help better humans' life. It was, to me, it was a natural progression for that character. Now, with the Iris thing, that irritated me was more of how Candace Patton played the character rather than how the character was written and what she wanted of the character, you know what I'm saying, to be standing more in the forefront instead of being, you know what I'm saying, in the standing by Barry's side, being that lightning rod instead of trying to be the leader of Team Flash. That would throw me off about her personally fighting for the character to have those type of moments when I felt like it took me out of, you know what I'm saying, the story and what Barry was trying to be, because it turned around and made the entire show not about Barry Allen, but about Iris West Allen. Literally, you know what I'm saying? I felt like the last couple of seasons, and I just didn't dig that.
Mm-hmm. Man, I'm now just like thinking, because like your thoughts on Cecile kind of makes me think, could she be on the spectrum? And maybe that's kind of why like her attitude changes, like when she hangs more around Team Flash, because it's definitely something that that I do every now and then too, like kind of like how you were describing. I definitely feel like I've picked up a lot of traits from my fiance like over the years, and I just do that in general, just because like, yeah. So I'm wondering if that's like something that like the writers may not have intended, but you could definitely kind of see there's probably some subtext there or something.
So honestly, I'm gonna give Iris a focus episode makes way more sense than even necessarily giving a Cecile focus episode. They gave Cecile maybe one or two focus episodes. Iris damn near had a focus season.
Yeah, I actually don't remember. I remember a couple Cecile focus episodes, but not enough for me to go like, oh, another Cecile. Yeah, it was never like that. I don't think. I think because there was one that involved Psycho Pirate that she was kind of the forefront of, but it wasn't too bad. It was like also like a filler episode. It wasn't like, you know, they gave
But
an entire
but
arc.
but it also made sense because of the power dynamics on why she would be, you know what I'm saying? And she
Oh
wasn't
yeah.
even the direct focus of the episode. She was just the element they used to defeat, you know what I'm saying, the villain. That, to me, she wasn't even a focus. She was a tool. They used her as a tool in order to beat, you know what I'm saying, like defeat the villain. It happens all the times in comics when randomly out of the blue, Squirrel Girl beats Thanos. After, you know what I'm saying, like after every hero is getting their butts beat, and here comes Squirrel Girl, you know what I'm saying, attack him, squirrels, and it's Squirrel Girl beating Thanos. Like it happens in every medium, you know what I'm saying, that we have, in order to a lot of times show that other characters, you know what I'm saying, can do stuff. I don't know, towards like maybe the last 3 seasons of Flash, yo, Iris took me completely. Like I got tired of reviewing the show because it was, to me, it was too heavily Iris based. It was too Candace Patton based for me. And then it got to the point where I feel like it wasn't even Iris. It was just Candace Patton playing Candace Patton.
Yeah. I don't know if I got that vibe from her, only because I haven't seen Candace Patton like anything else other than the
Mm-hmm.
Flash. But yeah, like I said, I thought like as a character she was fine, and I think she did like a good job of acting. I think okay, actually, what really bugged me was in the last couple of seasons. And I get it, you know, she I think she became a mother, and that was like the big thing. She wanted to spend more time with her family, so they wrote her off for a few episodes. And I don't know if it's because of the way scheduling works or what, but I feel like they could have planned ahead a little bit better. I just remember all the times they wrote Iris out of the show temporarily before bringing her back. It always felt like very bad writing. But yeah. So for Blossom, I'm
Well,
gonna come back. Oh, sorry.
well, my bad. I think the one reason, though, I know one time she got written out of the show because of the affair she was having with J.R. Smith.
Ah,
When J.R. Smith's wife exposed that, and I think honestly, after the affair, like J.R. Smith is still married, and Candace Patton just had a baby in like 2024 by J.R. Smith.
I never heard about that. Okay.
Yeah, it was a lot of that stuff going on while the show was going on, and then like she got written out the show for a little bit to deal with all of that. You know what I'm saying? That was going on with that.
Oh man, if I was a showrunner, I'd be so stressed out. Like, fix your shit out, fix your shit because we have a show to film. All right, I'm gonna come back to Blossom because for some reason it's not letting me load her full message. But I'm gonna move on to Peg C. Uh, what are your thoughts on Aria Grande and the Meet the Parents sequel? We already kind of talked about that. Very much, I'm indifferent, and you're indifferent, right?
I'm indifferent. I believe she'll be good, but like I'm not running to go see the movie because Ariana Grande is in it.
Agreed. Live action Legend of Zelda movie has found its princess. Oh wait, is that actually confirmed? I thought it was just like she said that she wanted to play her. Hang on, I gotta Google this real quick. Um because
Because that definitely would have been a topic.
Yeah, like cuz yeah, I don't think it's okay, yeah, it's not confirmed. Okay. But yeah, I did hear that she was interested in playing the role of Legend of Zelda, and yeah, no, I think she would do a really good job. She mentioned like a while ago that she didn't want to just be typecast as a trans woman in every movie that she does. And you know, I seeing her in Euphoria, and oh god, there was a horror movie she was also in. I think she's an incredible actress, and I think that like, you know, when you look at the side by side images of the two of them, it's so funny. The resemblance is kind of uncanny in some areas. So it's like I think she is kind of perfect for a live action Zelda role. So I'm down for that if that happens. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, I don't think it's confirmed. Do you have any thoughts on that?
I'm 110%. Like I'm good with that. That to me, that's a that'd be a good casting. She could act her ass off. Even in the Hunger Game movie she was in, the last one that came out.
That's right. I forgot she was in that.
Blade Runner 2099, I think she was in. Um, she does a really good job in her, you know what I'm saying, in the roles that she does. So I wouldn't mind that. For me, it'd be more of who's getting cast as Ganon and Link. That would be important to me because I see a lot of people out there fan casting Luke Grimes for Link. And I think that's just Yellowstone nostalgia. They got people wanting to cast him as that.
I kind of hope for Link they cast someone, I don't want to say with no experience, but an unknown at the very least, like someone not like super well known. Whereas for Ganondorf, I want the opposite. I want like a very iconic voice behind Ganondorf, not Jack Black or Chris Pratt, because those two are kind of overused now in video game movies. But you know, give us an iconic villain for Ganondorf. But you know, for Link, I want it to be unknown.
Machine Gun Kelly for Ganon.
Machine Gun Kelly. All right. Next is, did you know that a fourth live action Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie, Teenage Mutant Turtles for The Foot Walks Again, was planned but never produced? While several scripts were written and character concept art was created, the film was never produced. It was planned. It was a planned sequel to the 1990s trilogy and was to be produced by New Line Cinema. Here's some more detailed breakdown. Plan not made. Film was never produced, remaining only as script and concept art. Multiple script versions, at least 3 drafts of the script known to exist with different screenwriters between 1995 and 1997. Working titles, according to Peter Leard, working film title was The Next Mutation, which I swear they've used that for one of the Ninja Turtles cartoons, right?
Yeah, I think they did.
Yeah, and then concept art suggested the film have focus on further mutations for Splinter and the Turtle and feature new characters. Cancel sequel, while no initial 90s 1990s trilogies was a success. The fourth was never produced, potentially due to various factors. I mean, it makes sense because, like, in the 90s, those movies are really expensive to produce, and I think like one of the biggest problems like that they had to keep fighting for those was the parents, honestly, because the first Ninja Turtles movie, that first one in 1990, was a perfect film for what it was. I genuinely think it's like one of the most perfect comic book movies like you could have done. The problem is that, you know, they were going for like a young audience, which I think they should. It's Ninja Turtles, even if the comic book was super, you know, gory and super very adult, even though it's like very much a satire of like Daredevil and other comic books at the time. It made sense the tone that they went for in the movie. I think the movie was the perfect balance of the comic books and the 80s cartoon. It was just that perfect blend of the two for that first live action Ninja Turtles movie. I will take that to my grave. It is a perfect film. You know, and then the sequel comes, and that's where you have the parents complaining about how violent the first movie is. So they really dumb it down for the sequel, and same with the third movie. You know, they had to dumb it down because of all the parents complaining, like, oh, there's too much language, there's too much weapon use, you know, things like that. And so I feel like, you know, as cool as the idea of a fourth movie back then would have been, I don't think it would have worked. I am looking forward to, because apparently, you know, they have the Last Ronin movie that's going to be in development, based on, is that what it's called, right? The Last Ronin, the one
Mm-hmm.
where it follows specifically, yeah, the one turtle. I won't spoil it just in case no one's just in case people don't know and they want to go into this movie surprised. But there is one that was in development for Paramount Plus exclusively, and they were going to have the actress that played April Neil reprising her role. So I think that would imply that this is kind of that fourth movie in that then like a sequel to that trilogy, making it a quadrilogy now. But yeah, you know, I don't think it would have worked if they made it back then, but I think it can work if they do a sequel now. But what are your thoughts?
I want a continuation of the new series, but I wouldn't mind that. I hated the third movie. I hated the third movie with a passion.
Yeah.
But the first two were really good. I mean, the second movie for me spawned one of my favorite movies of all time, Surf Ninjas. So I mean, I have nothing bad to say about it. The first movie was epic.
Mm-hmm.
Especially that last fight scene with Shredder. Watching the turtles just get wrecked, and watching Leonardo look like he's finna die. You know what I'm saying? And then here comes Splinter, and then the second movie with them being too confident. You know what I'm saying? After that, like it was good storytelling for me when it came to that. Was it the first movie where Ralph ended up getting beat up on the rooftop? That amazing fight scene, and then he's in the tub for like 4 days trying to recover. I mean, man, give me a continuation of those two and just make the third not even exist.
Yes, just
It would be good.
ignore the third one, and then we'll call that the trilogy. The first one, the second one, and then the last one will be the end of that trilogy. We'll just ignore. It's funny. Okay, so something weird about the third movie, because I remember like back in 2008, Angry Video Game Nerd did, like, even though he usually just talks about video games, he did a movie review for Ninja Turtles 3. Absolutely hated the movie, and one of the complaints he made was that the movie has no subtitle, because it just kind of is a representation of how lazy the movie is as a whole. But ever since that review, I want to say like somewhere in the early 2010s, they've re-released that movie on DVD, and now they call it Turtles in Time based on the video game, which had that subtitle. But it definitely was not there. It's almost like the producers of the film were trying to gaslight us into thinking, no, it's always been Turtles in Time. It's like, no, it wasn't. It was just Ninja Turtles 3. Quit trying to gaslight us.
Yeah, and I really think that the movie was made off the popularity of that Turtles in Time game too, because it
Yeah.
came after the game. I think that's why they did it. And I was like, I like the time that they were in. Like that was a good base of what they did, but it was just the movie was just trash, yo. Raphael having love interest and shit. Like, come on, bro.
All right, I'm gonna try one more time to bring up Blossom's viewer question because for some reason it keeps not letting me see the full thing. That's so weird. Maybe if I hang on, I'm gonna try something. I'm gonna try logging out or logging into my YouTube account and see if it gives me a better view of the question if I do that.
Yeah, let's
No,
get
I
up.
still can't.
Can you make out what the question is right there? Blossom, if you're live with us right now, go ahead and pop your question in the comments. I want to try to get one more question in before we get out of here.
I can at least answer the very first part of the question. After seeing Cobra Kai, don't you think it's a tad endearing yet kind of weird to see Johnny and Daniel in a whole new light? They're more realistic and human than they used to be when my parents knew them. So I assume the question is just kind of like based around like how they were presented in the original Karate Kid movies and how they are in Cobra Kai. And yeah, I think it is kind of interesting just the way Cobra Kai kind of developed their characters over time because they took a joke that people made on the internet where they're like, I think if you think about it, Daniel was the real bully all along. They took that joke, they ran with it in How I Met Your Mother, and then they took that joke and made it into a YouTube series. And then that YouTube series got so good that they brought it to Netflix. And again, I think that's what works so much about it, is that even though the plot lines got sillier and sillier, the story got sillier and sillier every season, what remained consistent throughout all 6 seasons of Cobra Kai was how human the characters felt. And that's something I think even in Karate Kid, they did right. Because even though Johnny was a bully, you don't get that much screen time with him. So when you kind of see his side of the whole thing as an adult, you kind of, you can believe that was all the stuff that was going on back then. They just didn't have enough time to show it because obviously it's a movie. You don't have like the luxury of really expanding side characters or, villains the same way you do with the heroes. So I feel like, the way they do it, it's a great way of recontextualizing the way we see the original Karate Kid movie, but it doesn't like ignore anything. It doesn't like pretend. It doesn't try to rewrite anything. It just recontextualizes it in a cool new light to make you like kind of want Johnny to improve as a character as the series go on, to kind of root for both him and Daniel to kind of get over their differences and finally become friends. And I think like the course of their development, the fact that there's a lot of ups and downs and that they don't really figure it out until the very end of the series, I think is just like incredible writing all around. But you've seen Cobra Kai, right? Because you mentioned Karate Kid Legends. What are your thoughts?
I honestly believe that it's a good character story and dynamic in manipulation. You know what I'm saying? And it goes back to the senseis not really knowing who they are, not really knowing how they do, and them not being satisfied with their lives and them manipulating young kids in order to, live through them. And this goes for Miyagi, Mr. Miyagi, and the other, sensei, Sensei Reese, because they both were manipulating their young, to be who they wanted them to be rather than who they should be. Because it wasn't until we see them as adults, see them in Cobra Kai, that they start to become who they need to be. In the end, yes, some of those morals and stuff that they had, that they got from their sensei, but they developed into something themselves and learned that they were their own people and didn't have to follow either, tradition and what happened. And that's honestly what I feel like the story was about, was them not tying themselves to these men. You got to think about it. Neither one had a father.
Mm-hmm.
So they're both looking at these men as fathers. Neither one of those men really had dads around. You know what I'm saying? So they're trying to, how do you teach somebody to be a man when you didn't have a man to teach you to be a man? Type deal. and now they're raising kids and they have to learn the proper way, you know what I'm saying, to do different things, how to handle stuff. And it's an interesting dynamic as a man myself who has, you know what I'm saying, kids, and who basically didn't have like a father in my life. Not joke, black man, father. Yeah, he went and got milk a long time ago, never came back. Yeah, that was kind of dark.
I was just like, whenever someone like kind of brings up like life trauma, I'm always like, ooh, should I laugh at this, or is it like, you know, part of being on the spectrum is I never know if they're doing it to get a laugh out of me, or if they're just like, yeah, you know
no,
what I mean?
it was if I put it out there, it's totally be laughed about. I'm 42.
Okay.
I've been over that. But no, it's to me, I think I related to that, and that's one of the reasons why I stuck to Cobra Kai so much. Especially Johnny's side, because watching a lot of the stuff he went through is I'm looking like, damn, I could have made that decision. You know what I'm saying? I could have went down that road. I could be exactly, you know what I'm saying, where he's at. Well, I've been there. You know what I'm saying? I've been where he's at. So it made the show really relatable to where Karate Kid wouldn't have been as relatable to me with, you know what I'm saying, Daniel being the mainstay and what was going on. I believe if Karate Kid was shot more perspective by showing both kids and what they were doing, you know what I'm saying, and coming in the end, I think it could have been a totally different movie and concept, more and similar to what Cobra Kai was. And I think both actors, at this point, actors and creators, you know what I'm saying, of Cobra Kai understood that. And that's the reason why they developed the show, you know, the way that they did to tell this, you know what I'm saying, to branch out that story that they wanted to tell.
Yeah, I definitely agree there. I think, yeah, they saw like the idea of what if, you know, the two rival senseis actually did want to, you know, solve their differences. And, you know, it wasn't even just the fact that they themselves were the ones who did it. It was the fact that they had to learn from the younger generation of, hey, you know, not everything has to be settled in your fist or with your fist. Or also like, hey, not everything is as black as white as you see. You know, they both saw, like Daniel and Johnny both saw each other as like the problem, as the enemy, as like the asshole basically. And so it took like the younger generation, them constantly switching from one sensei to another, to finally be like, you know, you're both kind of assholes and good people at the same time. You know, if you guys both just like talk to each other, you might realize you're both not that bad, or you're not that different.
Yeah. So, but honestly, that's what made the story good. You know what I'm saying? And that's why that final season was done so well. And that's honestly why I feel like this movie, this Karate Kid Legends, have my review up soon, is why that movie is so good. Because it takes that dynamic from those movies and that show, and then kind of takes it to the next level. And you know what I'm saying, finalizes that vision that they had. And that's why I feel like this is actually the penultimate, you know what I'm saying, creation when it comes to Karate Kid.
Awesome. I definitely still need to check out Legends, because unfortunately it's not at our theater, but I'm sure it's probably playing at one of the theaters near my apartment. So I'm definitely gonna check it out ASAP.
I'm probably gonna go see it again today because again, I'm avoiding packing. So I'm
Wait
I
till the
might go,
last minute. That's how I always do it.
yeah, I might go check it out today and see it again. So I still feel like even though I was watching it, I think I was the colors, the stuff that was going on, I feel like it's a lot more that I can intake when it comes into that. So it's good. But that was dope. And you guys, that
Now,
was
everybody, it is time for live viewer questions.
that was dope. We try to answer all your questions as we get them and get to them. I appreciate a lot of them, man. And I always love Marcelino in the comments too. And I love his takes on everything. Y'all may think I don't like him. I love Marcelino. I like him because he challenges with knowledge rather than just being, you know what I'm saying, annoying like some trolls are. He's actually knowledgeable by what he's challenging you with. And that's why we love him here on Hero Report. But hey, I think we didn't do a bad job without Adam.
Oh, I think we did really good.
Yeah. Look. Without Adam, we were under 3 hours.
Oh, hell yes.
Yeah. We know he likes to hear himself talk. But go ahead and let them know where they can find you at, Stu.
You guys can find me at TurboStew01 over on Instagram, on Letterboxd, and on TikTok.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking. Letterbox. What is Letterbox?
Oh, it's basically kind of like a movie reviewing blog kind of site.
Okay, that's dope. I like
I
that.
only got like 2 movie reviews up there, but I do plan on writing more reviews like over time. I've just been like, trying to figure out like kind of a scheduling thing because like now that I'm actually doing a TikTok series, which I'm also kind of behind on, I'm just trying to figure out like a good way to kind of like balance the two of them.
No, I definitely get that. Cool. You always doing something. That's what I love about it. Every time I talk to you, you always got something going on, man. Stay busy. Keep at it.
Thank you.
That break's gonna come soon. You guys can find me at The Real Nerd Mix right there everywhere. You can stream my music. Just search for Indie Uchiha. That's that name right there. I'm actually in a contest right now to be in Rolling Stone, I think it is,
Ooh.
and to perform in New York. I'm in 6th place right now. The votes are free. If you got a Facebook, you can vote for free. It's Top Hitmaker. Just search for Indie Uchiha. Place your vote, man, because if I go up there, I'm representing Hero Report. You don't believe me? I make all my merch with Hero
Holy
Report on
shit, that is so
it.
cool.
So, you know what I'm saying? I represent us to the fullest over here. So if y'all guys get a chance, Top Hitmaker, go and vote. Check out that music. And always, of course, follow, like, and share on all platforms at A Plus Opinion and at A Plus Hero Report. Well, Hero Report on TikTok. Hope to see y'all. I don't know if I'll see y'all next Sunday. I might have to work. So I can have Father's Day off. You know what I'm saying? Like I want to go see my daughter. So I might have to work to have Father's Day off. But you guys will be getting reviews from me very soon with some of this anime going on. I love to be here with you guys. I guess until next time. I don't even know how y'all. I've been gone so long. I don't even know how y'all end this.
Oh, I just hit the end stream. But man, I can't believe you putting family over Hero Report. Man,
I mean, look. My kid's mom is going to bring her into the nerdum. So you know what I'm saying. I gotta go make sure I nerdify her and bring her over to the right. I already got her hooked on the like. I went from Bluey to Sailor Moon. So like I almost got her there. You know, I'm trying to get into some She-Ra. You know, and just get her to transition slowly into where we need her at.
Oh heck yes, She-Ra. That's such a funny transition. Bluey to Sailor Moon, very very different shows. I haven't watched much Sailor Moon, but like, dude, I'm not even a parent, and I freaking love Bluey. Like, holy crap, that show is good.
Well, I got her into Power Rangers, so she's watching the movie. She
Okay.
loved the last movie that came out. So
Yes.
I'm hoping that can transition her into something else. Something. She does like to be Hero X though, and Naruto. So we'll see where we'll go from there.
For sure.
All right. But until next time, guys, don't forget, check us out. Don't forget to also leave your live viewer questions for next week over on the YouTube. I forget what it's called.
It's now the
Channel.
post section. It used to be community. Now it's the post section.
Yo, the post section, they keep changing stuff on me. I got to get back into the habit of this. I'm just happy to be back with you guys. So until next time, keep it A+. This has been a Nerd Mix. We are out.